Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Also drop a like on this video, it only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. So today's video is obviously not a playoff video, although I will be doing a post-game recap later today. I wanted to talk about this Zach LaVine stuff that's been going around, for those that are not aware, because I imagine most people outside of the fan bases of the teams that this is rumored around have really been keeping up with this as the playoffs are going on. But there have been some serious rumors going on around Zach LaVine and the Chicago Bulls and some other teams that would potentially be interested in him. And really, all of it is stupid. And I'm not just saying that because I am a Bulls fan who has a Zach LaVine jersey right here. I genuinely think a lot of this is just smoke and mirrors and bullshit for the sake of talking about stuff, simply because Zach LaVine is the most highly touted free agent available in this free agency class, because there's basically nobody. And that's not even much of a compliment to Zach LaVine. It's just like literally maybe Kyrie Irving becomes available. It really depends on what him and the Nets are doing. But other than that, and even then, Kyrie is such a weird... What is that guy's value really when you take into context everything that's not on the court when he's able to be on the court? All of that stuff, even then I'd say Zach LaVine's probably a more highly touted asset because he's going to play for you. So that's something. Not to mention not disappoint in the playoffs every time you aren't playing with LeBron James. I don't know why I'm taking a bunch of digs at Kyrie Irving right now. My point is, Zach LaVine is the marquee free agent this year because there's really nobody else that's that significant that's going to be available. Almost every star, superstar, all-star level player is under contract going into next year. Zach LaVine is not. And I knew almost immediately that this was going to become a thing when Zach LaVine made it pretty clear that he was going to talk to other teams in free agency. When they lost in round 1 to the Bucks, there was a post-game presser after game 5 where they talked about his future of the team, and he basically said, "We'll see," in a way that was not like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely ironclad gonna be with the Bulls next year." And I really didn't freak out about that like a lot of people did. And the thing is, I maybe would freak out about some of these rumors if the teams that he was rumored to be going to made any sense, for the reasons of A, it even being possible for him to go there logistically, and B, his motivation. So there's two really main reports that are about this whole thing. One came from, I believe his name is Casey Jones. I know he's like a Bulls insider, so if he says something's up with the Bulls, it's probably true. And the other report came from, I don't remember what the specific source was, but it was like a thing that was basically saying GMs and owners around the league feel as though there is a chance, and this is like all it was, they're like, there's some rumblings that maybe Zach LaVine doesn't love the fact that DeMar DeRozan got a lot of the shine last year. From what I have seen of Zach LaVine's interviews, he does not give me the impression that he is that kind of ego, but at the same time, his on-the-court demeanor is definitely very, I'm him. So, you know, there could be one of those as a facade. But regardless of whether or not that is true, regardless of whether or not DeMar DeRozan kind of being the best player on the team, not even kind of, he definitely was. Regardless of that, tell me where it makes sense that, okay, his problem is DeMar DeRozan is taking his shine as the number 1 option. Tell me how it makes sense for him to want to go to the Lakers, then, if that's the case. Tell me how it makes sense for him to want to go to the Sixers, if that's the case. Because he's at best going to be the 2nd option on the Sixers, and he's going to be the 3rd option on the Lakers. So, explain to me how I'm mad at DeMar DeRozan for taking my spotlight. I don't want to be in Chicago anymore. I'm going to go to the Lakers where I get to be LeBron's teammate and Anthony Davis's teammate, 2 players who are far better than me, whereas DeMar DeRozan is only a little bit better than me. Like, it makes no sense logistically. And if you actually look at the teams that have the cap space to make a trade or to make a signing like this happen, all of them are bad teams. Sure, a couple of them could potentially provide a number one spot for Zach LaVine, but not in a team that's going to be anywhere near even the conversation of contention. There might be one team that I'm blanking on that actually has a decent amount of cap space, but in general, no really great team that's going to be able to add him outside of a sign and trade. And then if you go and look at the teams that he's rumored to be to, the two main ones have been the Lakers and the 76ers. The other one has been the Dallas Mavericks, and I think I've seen a little bit of Grizzlies rumors. But at the very least with the Lakers and the Sixers, they don't have the assets to make a sign and trade work. Other than the Sixers, if they wanted to give up Tyrese Maxey, which I think would be a very bad decision. I'll be real, if Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey was the return package for Zach LaVine, I wouldn't really lose too much sleep. Because I think Tyrese Maxey will probably be on a tier similar to Zach LaVine in 2 to 3 years. And Tobias' contract would be expired by then. So honestly, I would not be that upset if that kind of move ended up happening. But the Sixers are not going to trade Tyrese Maxey, so where's the avenue in which they're getting Zach LaVine? The Bulls are not taking back Tobias Harris's contract. It has to be something to sweeten the pot for the Bulls, and it has to be something that basically they have no choice. He can go there if he wants to. You just want to get something back. That's essentially what happened with Kevin Durant going to the Nets. It wasn't up to the Warriors whether or not Kevin Durant was going to the Nets, but the Nets were like, hey, do you want D'Angelo Russell? And the Warriors were like, sure, we'll take D'Angelo Russell. So it was instance where you took what you got. But the Bulls in this situation are not propositioned to take whatever they have because they don't have to. Like, there's no reason, or what they have to offer is not interesting enough. If it's the Lakers, if it's Russell Westbrook, no. If it's Anthony Davis, I'll hear you out. And it shows how fucking crazy Anthony Davis's value has tanked, in my opinion, for me to be like, I don't even know that I want to do that just because of how injured he is all the time. But regardless, they're not trading Anthony Davis for Zach LaVine, and the Sixers are not trading Tyrese Maxey for Zach LaVine. And the Bulls are not going to take back Tobias Harris, and they're not going to take back Russell Westbrook. So there is no way logistically, salary-wise, this sign and trade happens. The only way would be if the Sixers managed to get that amount of cap space from another trade and then sign the guy. Or the Lakers were able to get that amount of cap space from a trade and then sign the guy. But then we are talking serious fantasy land. So already doesn't make sense in terms of his ability to get there. It doesn't make sense in terms of what his speculated motivations would be. And then in terms of what Chicago has to offer, they can pay him $55 million more than any other team over a 5-year contract. They can offer him to be essentially a 1B. And even if you want to, really, he took as many shots as DeMar DeRozan pre-getting injured. When Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan were at the start of the season, they were basically neck and neck. DeMar was getting more of the shine just simply because it was more surprising that he was as good as he was. But for the first 30 games of the season, it was a conversation. I leaned DeMar, but it was close. Then Zach LaVine got hurt, and he played the rest of the season through a knee injury. And from there, he wasn't the same. His ability to get to the rim wasn't the same. His jump shot was not the same. His lift on his jumper was not the same. The space he was creating was not the same. And from there, DeMar was very clearly the best player on the team. But Zach comes back healthy next year, which is another thing that's actually rumored to be an area of concern, but I'm not going to speculate on that right now. That happens, this is all over with. This has nothing to do. Zach will have as many shots as DeMar DeRozan. He'll get arguably just as much shine. He will definitely be an all-star as he was this year. And this is stupid. So, more money, about as much opportunity on a winning team as you're going to see, which Zach LaVine in his comments in the media talks about caring about winning all the time. At that point, It doesn't make the Bulls are the only team that makes sense for Zach LaVine to go to, and it isn't just me coping. I'm saying it would be a stupid decision on Zach LaVine's part to go to just about any other team, unless there is just some unforeseen move. If he could go to like the Mavericks, if there's a way to logistically make that work, because hey, I would probably take back Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleba. But other than that, yeah, unless some opportunity like that exists that I'm not really seeing, because I don't think that's really going to happen. Unless that's an option, the Bulls are the only team that makes sense for Zach LaVine. And for that reason, I'm really not all too concerned about it, but it's something to keep an eye on. So, yeah, that is it. Goodbye.